there was a lot of debate around the envelope rule after your withdrawal from the Ryder Cup. You know, a lot of strong reactions came from fans and players. How did you view that entire debate, and would you like to change anything about it?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, the whole situation was pretty upsetting, just the fact that I didn't get to play. And I felt really bad for Harris, who also didn't get to play a match, even though, you know, there's nothing wrong with him. He just, you know, didn't get to play, and he was upset about that. And I feel very bad for not being able to compete. And it's tough. Yeah, it's hard to, I think we're so used to in sports that, yeah, if you can't play because you're hurt, you know, that's obviously, that should be a loss of point. But I think in the spirit of the Ryder Cup and it's you know, the spirit of the game and the history of it, knowing that this Ryder Cup is just a part of many Ryder Cups to come, I think it's more of a gentleman's agreement that, okay, you were hurt this time, and maybe the next time there's a guy on the U.S.'s team, and we're all kind of sympathetic about the person being hurt and not being able to play. I think there's kind of a mutual understanding that, you know, if we were healthy, we would all go out there and play. I don't think people are using that to really finagle the system and trying to you know, squeak by. But and also to the other point, if you do change the rule and you give away a point, now there's also the angle that, okay, knowing that the other team is going to put out their best player, most likely in the first few groups, they can just kind of put me out as a sacrificial lamb and take the L against their best player. So there's other way around it, and I think the you know, I don't think there's any ideal way to do it, but the most, like, I think that's just a better way overall to do it, even though it's just a tough situation, and at the end of the day, I think we'd all be wanting to go out there and play.
That's interesting, because either way, their best player would end up with the W in that situation. But Paige, what's your reaction to the fervor around the envelope rule?
Well, I'm a little disappointed that Viktor Hovland is required to kind of speak on behalf of this rule. It feels as though he's put in this position to somehow defend the position of splitting the half point, and I don't feel like that's necessarily fair for a player. I do think it's worthy conversation to debate whether it should be a split half point or whether it should be a forfeited full point. I think back into 2011, when Christy Kerr in the singles match did have to forfeit due to injury, gave up the full point. And at the time, the morning of Sunday singles, it was tied 8-8. So it was significant in how that event ended up ultimately playing out. And I think she maybe unfairly received a lot of heat for withdrawing, had played previously the 4 matches coming into the Sunday singles. So I think in a lot of ways, it always ultimately falls down onto the players when it was actually a captain's agreement or it was agreed upon by administration before the players teed it up. I think it's a worthy debate. I think I could make the argument both directions, but ultimately, I like the idea of a half-point split because I do not believe that any of those players or teams would be intentionally abusing that rule, given the significance of this event.
Yeah, and I think that I don't think there's any victim here that took place. I mean, this rule has been invoked on 2 prior occasions, once by Team USA and once by Europe, in whatever direction they do decide ultimately to go.